Welcome back to World of Immersion. So recently we just visited Knott's Scary Farm and it was a phenomenal event. This year they really stepped up their game with 3 entirely new mazes and it was fantastic. All 3 of them were great. As always, all the other mazes were fantastic. Knott's Scary Farm is a great Halloween event, one of the best out there. So in today's video we're actually going to be ranking every single maze that we did last night, which is all 10 mazes. We were not able to hit the shows, but they seemed very cool too. So if you go to Knott's Scary Farm, be sure to check that out too. But before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss another update here on World of Immersion. Now, starting off in last place, taking the number 10 spot. This was a little bit of a disappointment. This is actually one of the 3 new mazes. It is Room 13. Don't get us wrong, this maze was great. It had some awesome sets, some great scares. It was just definitely the weakest of this year's lineup. To be honest, the set design was slightly lacking. There were a couple scenes that were just black walls, and it didn't feel as grand or as big as some of the other mazes. And along with that, the scares were decent. They weren't phenomenal, but they also were not awful. Overall, it was just a mediocre maze. There are no bad mazes at Knott's Scary Farm. They're all great. This one just definitely took the last spot and was definitely the weakest of the year. A little bit disappointing given that was a new maze for 2023, but it's okay because, as you will see later in the video, the other 2 mazes were great. Now, taking the number 9 spot, we have the Depths. Now, this is a returning maze. It is a phenomenal one. Again, great set design, great scares. Honestly, the only thing setting this one back is that it is slightly less scary than a lot of the other mazes. For some reason, there seems to be not as many jump scares. This could just be us. It could be our walkthroughs that we've gotten. And it also is a bit shorter than some of the other mazes. Like I said, don't get us wrong, the set design is still phenomenal. There are some great sets. The boat scene is very fun. The water scene with the creatures underneath the water is very cool too. We also got this on an empty walkthrough, which was a ton of fun because we got a lot of jump scares. But just in general, it's definitely lacking compared to the other mazes in jump scares and in the scare factor. And while the set is phenomenal, there are other mazes at the park that have a much better set. But taking the number 8 spot, we have Dark Entities, another returning maze. Now, the first time that we did this maze was last year in 2022, and we thought it was okay. And this year, we did it, and it was actually great. They seem to have increased the number of scare actors that they're running in this maze. When we were walking through, we got so many scares. It was phenomenal. This one definitely was pretty scary because of how many scare actors they were running, which is always so much fun. And overall, just a fantastic maze. The only reason it's so low on this list is because the other mazes are just so incredible. But again, great, fantastic maze, just not quite as good as some of the other mazes in the park. Now, taking the number 7 spot, we have another returning maze. This is Waxworks. Now, this maze is fantastic. It is incredibly gory, so if you are not a gore fan, we highly recommend you skip this one. And I want to mention there actually seem to be a couple of new set pieces in this maze. You can correct us if we're wrong in the comments. Please let us know. But it definitely seemed to have been updated a little bit, which is great to see. This maze is always awesome. The set design is phenomenal. It is incredible. This is definitely one of the coolest sets out of the entire lineup of mazes. It's also pretty scary. There's a good amount of scares. It's just a little bit on the shorter end. And while the scares are pretty good, there's not a huge amount of them. They're pretty infrequent, actually. There's a lot of scenes where you're kind of just walking through without any scare actors, which is awesome because these sets are phenomenal and great to look at. It's just you're sort of missing that insane scare factor that some of the other mazes have. But again, still a great maze. These mazes are really hard to talk about in a negative light because they're so low on the list, but they are so incredibly good. But just compared to the other mazes in this lineup, it's just not quite as good. Now, coming in at number 6, this has fallen a little bit in our rankings. This is Bloodline 1842. Now, when we did this maze first, it had the laser guns where you got to shoot the monsters, and that was so much fun. Very cool, super duper smart design. Unfortunately, last year was its first year being introduced as a maze, so they had the laser guns as sort of a special showcase. They are gone now. There's no longer laser guns. But still, phenomenal maze. The set design is really incredible. One of the coolest aspects about this maze is that the space it is in is built for trapeze, which is really cool. You have people swinging along the ceilings and jumping down on bungee jumps. It's fantastic. The set design, like I said, is really good. There's some awesome parts. Very scary. We got a good amount of jump scares on this one. Great addition to the lineup from last year. Glad that this one will be staying for the next couple years. Maybe on its last year, they'll bring back the laser guns. Who knows? That would be cool. Now, at our halfway point in breaking the top 5, we have Origins, the Curse of Calico. Now, this one actually seemed to have been changed slightly from last year. Again, please correct us in the comments if we are wrong, but it definitely seemed a lot better this year. This maze was phenomenal. The scare actors were incredible. The set design was great. There's some really, really awesome scenes in this one that we just do not remember entirely from before. This could be just us having a bad memory, but it really seemed like it changed. They definitely had more scare actors than they did last time because it felt a lot scarier. I remember one opinion that we had from last year was that it was phenomenal set design, but not very scary. But this year, that was completely blown out of the water. It was incredibly terrifying. I'll say, especially for myself, I did not remember it at all. It was super duper fun. The story is actually relatively easy to follow too, which is a ton of fun. And so yeah, overall a phenomenal maze. Great set design, great scares, and that's why it takes the number 5 spot. Coming in at number 4, we have the other new for 2023 maze, Chilling Chambers. Now this maze was great. However, we want to just preface this by saying we got a pretty crappy walkthrough. Don't get us wrong. Very, very cool maze. The set design was incredible. It was really, really cool to see. Something about our walkthrough, we had a lot of scare actors missing for some reason. We didn't even hit it later in the night or anything, or earlier in the night. We hit it right in the middle of the night, and we just had a lot of scare actors missing, so there weren't a ton of scares. The set design was great, but I actually don't even think we got jump scared once in the entire maze because there were so many scare actors missing. We actually saw at one point a scare actor walking through the maze trying to exit. It's possible something actually was going wrong. We saw someone on the phone trying to talk to a technician about an animatronic in the middle of the maze, so there definitely was something going on when we did our walkthrough, which is slightly disappointing. But we went back and watched a POV, and it definitely seemed to be a lot better than we had gotten. But even from what we got, this is still a phenomenal maze. The set design is incredible. The other thing is that this maze is definitely catering to an audience that has been going to Knott's Scary Farm for years because it has scenes from a lot of their old mazes. I can imagine that if you are an adult that has been going to Knott's Scary Farm forever, this would be such a cool maze because you get throwbacks to the other mazes that used to be there. So that definitely is a really, really cool thing. And like I said, set design is phenomenal. And I just want to have a point out to the facade. Very, very cool. Definitely one of the coolest facades I've seen for a maze ever. It is huge. Very awesome facade. Now, taking the number 3 spot, we have Mesmer, Sideshow of the Mind. Now, this has always been one of the best mazes for us. It is a ton of fun. It is very, very scary. There are a lot of scare actors. It is really, really well designed in that the scares happen at great moments. And yeah, this is just a very trippy, sort of disorienting maze. It's very unique in that. And overall, this is just a phenomenal maze. Again, great set design. Great scares, very unique. Now, taking the number 2 spot, we have the new for 2022 maze from last year. This is the Grimoire. Now, this maze completely blew our minds last year. It was incredible. It was absolutely terrifying. Very, very well designed. Very cool. And again, it did not disappoint this year. We thought they were going to have gotten rid of the pre-show. They, in fact, did not. There still is a pre-show. And then following that, you just have this insanely long and detailed and terrifying experience. And is one of the coolest. And again, something that's great about Knott's Scary Farm, this is really such a unique maze. There's so many cool factors to it. And again, with Origins, this maze has a story that actually is relatively easy to follow, and they show it really well. It's very cool going through the different scenes, seeing the book, and especially just that ending scene with the tree and all of those cool things. Again, not trying to spoil it, but you will know what I'm talking about if you have been through these mazes. But again, just a phenomenal maze. Really, really stellar job on behalf of Knott's. This is definitely above par in terms of mazes. Definitely better than a lot of other mazes that are out there, I'll just say that. It is a phenomenal maze, really, really well designed, very scary. But not quite good enough to take the number 1 spot because that title goes for the new for 2023 Cinema Slasher. Now, if you have seen our vlog, you will know our thoughts on this, and I could go on for another 10 minutes about this maze. The first thing I want to say about this maze is that this maze is the best maze or haunted house that we have ever done in our lives across 3-4 years of haunt events going to Fright Fest, Horror Nights, and Knott's Scary Farm. No maze has compared to this one. This was insane. Everything about this maze was perfect. It was horrifying, with insane amounts of jump scares, probably the most scare actors I've ever seen in a maze. It was just jump scare left and right. You just get scared from one end and then turn around and be another scare actor. I remember I saw a scare actor and I was like, haha, you know, like I anticipated this scare, and I turn a corner and there's another one right there and it completely catches you off guard. They do the scares really, really well, and in a way that really will get you no matter how well you can handle your scares. I would say I'm pretty good at handling scares. I don't always get very scared when going to haunt events, and this completely humbled me. This was a terrifying experience. I was screaming, I was jumping. It was so much fun, so terrifying. The second amazing aspect about this maze is its set design. Now, I've been saying that these mazes have great set design a lot before, but none of them compare to this maze. This maze's set design is insane. It is beautifully done. I do not want to spoil any of the scenes because there are a lot of cool things that completely catch you off guard when you go through the maze. I would highly recommend that you do not watch a POV of this maze in particular. I would say that for all mazes, but this one in particular before you go. This one you really want to be surprised because it will catch you off guard. It will just be insane. There are also a lot of things that you might not think are scares, but then end up scaring you. I will just say that. So that's another reason to not watch a POV. But again, this set design is just insane. There are so many huge, grand scenes with so much going on, so many animatronics, so many puppets, so many scare actors. It is just fantastic, very, very gory, which is great for a Halloween event. And overall, just a phenomenal maze. The best maze that we have ever done. We can say that right now. I would highly recommend going and watching our reaction because you will see how insane this maze was. All four of us, we went with a couple of their friends, had an incredible time in this maze. We did it actually 3 times. Very, very much so a maze you can do over and over again because there are so many scares. But overall, just insane. Absolutely incredible maze. Knott Scary Farm really, really, really stepped it up with this maze. It is incredible. And the real question this year is going to be, which haunt event is better? Knott Scary Farm or Universal Studios Hollywood? We have videos up about both scare events, which we highly recommend you check out. And soon we will have a video discussing which of the two is better. And we think that the answer might surprise you. So stay tuned for that video because it will be coming soon. But that is going to do it for today's video. So I hope you enjoyed our ranking. Let us know down in the comments what you think of these mazes. What you think of the new 3 mazes for this year. Whether you were blown away like us with Cinema Slasher and slightly disappointed by Room 13. Or whether it was the verse. You were blown away by Room 13 or slightly disappointed by Cinema Slasher. Which I highly doubt, but maybe you were. Anyway, let us know down in the comments. Please be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss another update here on World of Immersion. Thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.